Thank you. All right. So our next WIT talk is The Power of Choice. And this is by Debra Christmas, who is a seasoned leader in tech with 40 years of experience encompassing sales, consulting, channels, and managing all aspects of IT as a chief information officer in both the private and public sector. Today, as an executive partner with Gartner Canada, she provides consultation on strategy, technology decisions, and leadership development for senior IT executives in Canada. She is the founder of Stiletto Gladiators, which I can't wait to hear more about, a non-for-profit consultancy focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion and coaching organizations for women in business. She is the co-author of Please Stay, How Women in Tech Survive and Thrive, and co-founder of Women in Tech Tribe. Debra, welcome to the stage and tell us all about the power of choice.
Well, thank you so very much. I'm so thrilled to be here with all of you. Let me start with a little bit of a story. It was a warm summer day in the middle of August with 3 young girls, 10, 7, and 4 years old. We were unpacking the cooler from a month-long vacation in Newport, Rhode Island, and their parents told them to empty the cooler and put things away. They were having so much fun, dancing to music as we always did, and the sunlight streamed in on a beautiful summer day, washing the dishes, throwing suds at each other. And in our playfulness, they accidentally knocked over a glass of water, and water was flowing all over the place, on the counter, on the floor, behind the bread box. They quickly pulled out the bread box to wipe the water and found 3 white envelopes. The envelopes were large. They had some very fancy looking papers inside of them, and the oldest child stopped in her tracks as she started to read the documents. She looked at her birth certificate. The names did not match what was on the other 2. The 3 of them stood there speechless. They shoved the birth certificates into the envelopes, cleaned up the kitchen, ran outside, and stood in the backyard looking at each other. They had discovered a secret, and a very big one. I was that oldest child. I was a 10-year-old girl, and the first major choice of my life was made. I chose to be perfect. I didn't know who the woman was on my birth certificate. I knew the man. That was Uncle Ronnie, who I adored, who I had a special bond with, and now I knew why. He was my father. That handsome, ebony-skinned man, vivacious uncle that we all loved, the cool Samuel Jackson of our family, who used to come home from New York every couple of months, showered me with presents, was my father. But who was this woman, Laura Elizabeth Moritz, and where was she? I had no idea, but I knew I belonged to this family. The family that I knew and I loved since birth, the only family that I've ever known. The mother and father that I thought were mine were not. I loved my parents, I loved my siblings, and I needed to stay here with them. I needed to be good so that they did not send me back to wherever I came from. So on that beautiful summer day, I made a very, very important life choice. I chose to be the best daughter that I could ever be, and I chose to do everything my parents wanted me to so that they would keep me. We make thousands of choices in our lifetime. Some of them are easy, barely require any thought whatsoever, like going to the grocery store, to huge decisions like where we will live, who we will choose as a partner, what type of career do we want, will we have children, will we take that new job that, challenges us, how we carry ourselves in the world, what do we aspire to be, and how will we get there from here? Every single day we make dozens of choices. And as we approach midday of International Women's Day, I think we're almost there, I want you to stop and think about what choices you have made and what the biggest choice you might have had to make in your life so far. You choose every day to get up, you choose to eat breakfast or not, you choose to exercise, you choose what to wear. Now that might be the biggest decision that you make. You choose to work from home or tackle the traffic, head into the office, discuss something with a partner or a child, a friend or a colleague, or you might actually choose to defer something because the time was not right. Some of these choices didn't require much thought, but others did. And depending on how much thought you gave them, depended on or maybe determined the potential impact. So let's talk clothes. We heard talk fashion earlier, interior design. My wardrobe is a big choice for me every day. I give it a lot of thought. Why? Because I love fashion. I love everything about it. I love how it's part of my personal self-expression. I love the clothes. I love the jewelry. And do not even get me started on the shoes. You should see what's on my feet today. Okay? So that is a big decision for me to start my day. but it has some importance to it because my mood might be different based on what I'm wearing. Walking around in yoga pants and an oversized sweater and low-cut boots, my favorite weekend wear, by the way, never shows up in the weekday, during business hours. At work, the dress of this very opinionated, strong-willed, curious, badass is got attached to the fashion that I'm wearing on a good day. And that means right down to those stilettos, and hence stiletto gladiators. The shoes are important. It sounds trivial, but it's not. Why? Because they help with the swagger. Okay? I have a sign in my office right beside me that says, I am woman, what's your superpower? I see it every day as I sit down at my desk. I have bought one for my daughter-in-laws, my granddaughters. And if it gives them a little pep in their step, a little juice on a hard day, then those few words have an incredible impact on them. One of the biggest choices that I make every day is joy. That's my motto for living. I choose joy every day. I even have the email address. I choose joy every day at gmail.com. It doesn't mean that I don't see what's going on in the world. I just make a conscious choice that I'm not going to let it seep under my skin. So here we are today, all of us together in the company of amazing women and men celebrating International Women's Day. We choose to be part of this incredible event. And when the day is done, we will be the richer for it. We choose to join this organization and benefit from all it has to offer. The day will go into our memory bank of special occasions of listening to the many speakers who will grace this stage, sharing their insights, sharing their wisdom. I'm very thrilled to be in this company with all of you. We're going to take those insights and we're going to make choices about what we have learned here today. We're going to share an experience together. And for some, what we learn here today will impact us in ways that we might not even understand or expect. You might rethink your job. You might be inspired to move your career in a new direction. You might feel comforted that you're not alone in this professional journey. You are not alone, by the way. We are your posse, and you might be actually motivated to take very specific actions when we are done here today. The choices that you make will pay dividends in the coming months. And I'm going to share a little story. I have not always thought about choices in this very specific way until I participated in a collective book project that launches today. We Rise in Power, Amplifying Women of Color and Our Voices for Change was an anthology project with 12 women who came together to tell their story. And as I thought about what to write for my chapter, the power of choice was all over me. I couldn't get it out of my brain. So I really had to start to think about what are the choices that I've made over a 40-year career. I've been in this field, I'm in my mid-60s, and I've been in this career for 40 plus years. I was taught from a very young age that choices are important and that choices have a ripple effect. For every choice you make, there's a ripple. We all have a story to tell. I've shared some of mine this morning, but I'm going to give you a little bit more context. That decision to be a perfect child came with a very significant price tag. And we hear about this for women every day, that thing about perfection. I actually tried to do everything that my parents wanted me to do. I was the oldest, and because I was the oldest, I also had to take care of my siblings. I wanted to ensure that I was delivering to them what they expected of me. Their approval was paramount. So what did that mean? Well, it meant I created a value system where achievement became front and center. I focused on my schoolwork because schoolwork was my ticket out, meaning education. I heard that mentioned earlier, education my parents were children of immigrants from Barbados. Education was your ticket out. That's how you were going to rise up and get out of, the community in a way that they could never do. I was the first and I was the only child to go to university and to graduate. But I also was a very quick study and I could run a household by the time I was 11. Okay? If my parents were out and they called home and said, Mrs. So-and-so is coming, that's all they had to say. I am telling you, I kicked that sibling posse into gear. And my parents, when they walked in that door, the house was impeccable, the refreshments in the fridge, and we were all dressed properly. Okay? And they were proud. We participated in our communities. We were in school plays, we were in church concerts, we had solos. I cannot sing, okay? But we had solos. And they were so proud. We were on the track team, we were in dance competitions, they were proud. I literally delivered what was expected of me, and I made that choice every single day. And despite being such an obedient child, my sisters used to call me Miss Goody Two Shoes, I developed a voice. My parents taught us, and this is so important for women who are listening today. They taught us to use our voices and to use them really strongly. We were educated at home that a Black child in a predominantly white world is going to go by different rules. We're going to have different rules for us. We are little brown children, and people are going to look at us in a different way. Some people are just not going to like us, period, because we were not white. We'd be judged differently. We would never, and my parents taught us to never, ever, ever be demeaned or disrespected, whether by an adult or whether somebody our own age. The first time that I was called the N-word, I was 4. This was a boy on the other side of a fence who was taunting me, calling me the N-word in French, basically. He was 8. I broke his nose. There was blood everywhere, and I'm not joking. I was in nursery school, and I was in really big trouble. I can remember this like it was yesterday. My father came to the school, my parents came to the school, and my father said, "What happened here? Why had I hit him?" Because all the teacher said was that I hit this boy. When they told him, my father said, "You're lucky that's not all she broke." And we went home. And he was so proud of me for standing up for myself. And then he had to explain what the N-word meant. I was 4. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew derision when I heard it. And I have never forgotten that. So we were raised, to speak up and to speak out. And that courage muscle was developed so very early in life, and it has served me incredibly well for my entire career. We were taught right from wrong. And if you saw something that wasn't right, you spoke up and you did something about it. If it had not been at that young age, I'm not so sure I would have been able to navigate my career the way that I have with that strong voice. I'm not sure my voice would have developed so well had I not been taught that so young. So as women in this field, it is really important for you to find your voice. Your voice is going to be different than mine. We're not all going to sound the same, but it's important for you to find it, and it's important for you to use it, to strengthen it, and to choose to do that often because it will serve you well. I have spent my entire career in the tech world, in the corporate environment, working for the public sector, small companies, and for tech giants in this industry. And here's what I've learned along the way. And these are the choices that you also can make. Have some sort of a plan. Think about your future, because chance is not a strategy. Create your own personal directors. Know what you are good at and where you struggle so that you can amplify those strengths and you can build the skills where you need them. Build networks and build relationships, because you cannot do this alone. Pay attention to the people in front of you, beside you, and behind you. Surround yourself with talent and good people. Aspire to big things. Share yourself with others. Take others with you. Please take others with you. reach back and bring another woman with you. Mentor, sponsor wherever you can. Don't accept no. Say yes often. Things are going to be presented to you. Say yes. Persevere through the crazy stuff. My grandmother's favorite expression, and this too shall pass. I heard that my whole life. Know yourself. I heard that this morning. Know yourself. Be comfortable in your own skin. Ask for feedback often. Make it easy for people to give you the feedback. That doesn't mean you have to do anything with it, but ask, because their opinion is their perception of you. And that's important for you to know. Seek out opportunities that challenge you. Be brave with not knowing something. Do not pretend that you do. If you don't know something, the chances are other people don't know it either. So just say you don't know. Invest in your professional development. Do not leave that to somebody else. They have their own self to worry about. You take care of yourself. Be curious, be courageous, take risks that make sense. Okay, that doesn't mean being crazy. Take risks that make sense for you. Ask for help. Offer help. Be a good colleague and be a good teammate. Be interested in others. Ask them questions. Why? Because we all just love to talk about ourselves. And the more that you ask, the more you will learn. And that information will be valuable to you. Be accountable for everything that you say and do. Own it. Do not run away from it. Own your triumphs and mistakes and talk about both. Do not let anyone take credit for what you have done. You have earned the right to take a bow. So you need to stand proud and be loud about whatever you do. Know when to say we and know the power of I. Be humble, be grateful, say thank you often. Do not let anybody minimize you or silence you. My favorite quote is, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. That's Eleanor Roosevelt. Never give your consent. Never, ever, ever. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is make choices that matter for you. Think about the choices that you make and choose well. Thanks so much for having me.
Debra, that was fantastic. And congrats on the new book, the release today. That was really great. Hopefully you'll share that in the chat, and others will go out and find it as well, because it sounds like an amazing book. Also, thank you for sharing your own story and how you discovered who your parents were and how that helped to define who you are today, because I think we all have these nuggets that we carry with us through life, right? And generational cycles of things that we want to be our best, and why do we want to be our best? And then you've taken that and you defined what that best means for you, right? So growing up, that's what it meant for your parents, but now you've defined that's what it means for you, and how strong, how successful you've been doing that. So thank you again for sharing today, and it was a phenomenal session.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We do have 2 other rooms in our conference that we hope you take